The first thing I heard was my ex-husband's laugh. Low, familiar, and completely wrong. It cut through my sister's dining room like a knife through butter. I was still holding a glass of wine when she smiled at me, slow and deliberate. "Oh, relax, Dorothy, it's Thanksgiving, don't be dramatic." My stomach dropped to the floor. He was already seated at the table, already welcomed into the house, already comfortable. And the way they both looked at me, smiling like they shared a secret, told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned. This was a message. Lucas raised his glass toward me, that same smug expression he wore during our divorce. "Dorothy, good to see you." His voice was smooth, casual, like we were old friends meeting for coffee. My sister Bethany laughed, touching his arm. "I thought it would be nice for everyone to move past old drama," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "We're all adults here." The room went silent. Aunt Margaret looked uncomfortable. My cousin Sarah stared at her plate, but Bethany and Lucas, they were enjoying this. I could feel my hands starting to shake, so I set down my wine glass carefully. I didn't scream. I didn't storm out. I just stood there, breathing slowly, calculating every single thing I was seeing. Dinner continued like nothing had happened. Silverware clinked against plates. Someone passed the mashed potatoes. My sister laughed too loudly at something Lucas said. I sat down in the only empty chair, right across from him. My hands trembled once as I reached for my fork, then they steadied. I watched everything. I noticed who avoided eye contact with me. I noticed who seemed comfortable with this situation. I noticed Bethany checking her phone under the table, probably texting someone about how I was reacting. Lucas cut his turkey with precision, completely at ease. This wasn't spontaneous. They had rehearsed this. They wanted me to break down in front of everyone. My name is Dorothy, and before I tell you what I did, you need to understand what they did to me first. Lucas and I were married for 6 years. From the outside, we looked perfect. Nice house, good jobs, the kind of couple people envied. But behind closed doors, he was different. He made me feel small every single day. He questioned my decisions, criticized my work, told me I was too emotional, too sensitive, too much. When I finally divorced him 2 years ago, it cost me everything. Half my savings, my confidence, even some friendships because he was so good at playing the victim. And my sister Bethany knew all of this. She knew every painful detail. Divorce wasn't just hard. It was financial warfare. Lucas fought me on every asset, every penny. He hired an expensive lawyer and dragged things out for months. I had to take out loans just to keep fighting. By the end, I was broke, exhausted, and professionally damaged because he had started rumors at my company that I was unstable. My career barely survived. I moved to a smaller apartment. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. And through all of it, Bethany was there. She listened to me cry. She told me I deserved better. She called Lucas a manipulative monster. So seeing him at her table, seeing her touch his arm and laugh at his jokes, it wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated cruelty. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every glance, every smile. Why would Bethany do this? What did she gain from humiliating me in front of our family? I kept hearing her voice. "Don't be dramatic." Like my feelings didn't matter. Like I was the problem for being upset that my abusive ex-husband was sitting at Thanksgiving dinner without warning. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through our text messages from the past week. She had been so normal, so friendly. "Can't wait to see you Thursday." Not one mention of Lucas, not one hint. This was intentional. This was designed to hurt me. I started thinking about our childhood. Bethany was always competitive, always needing to win. When I got into college, she suddenly decided she wanted to go to a better one. When I got engaged, she immediately started planning a bigger wedding for herself. When I bought my first house, she bought a bigger one in a better neighborhood. But this felt different. This wasn't about outdoing me. This was about breaking me. I realized something sitting there in the dark. Bethany didn't invite Lucas to Thanksgiving because she forgave him. She invited him because she wanted control. She wanted to see me suffer. She wanted to prove she had power over my pain. Monday morning, I walked into my office building like normal. Coffee in hand, professional smile in place. But my brain is working differently now. I wasn't thinking about feelings anymore. I was thinking about facts. During a routine team meeting, someone mentioned a new consulting firm we were working with. My supervisor praised their efficiency. Then she said the name. Lucas Hendricks has been instrumental in streamlining our vendor contracts. My blood went cold. Lucas, my ex-husband Lucas. He was working with my company. I had been so focused on rebuilding my own career that I hadn't noticed he had wormed his way into my professional world. This wasn't a coincidence. This was infiltration. I stopped reacting and started documenting. Every email Lucas sent to company staff, every meeting he attended, every recommendation he made about vendor contracts. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't ask questions. I just observed and saved everything to a private folder on my personal drive. I noticed something interesting. Lucas was recommending specific vendors for our supply chain, vendors that charged premium prices. I cross-referenced the companies with public records. Most of them had been registered within the past year. Some listed Bethany as a partial owner. She was profiting from his consulting position. They weren't just mocking me at Thanksgiving. They were stealing from my company while doing it. Bethany called me that week. Her voice was sweet fake. "I hope you're not still upset about Thanksgiving. I was just trying to help everyone heal." I stayed calm. "I'm fine, Bethany." She sounded almost disappointed. She wanted me to be angry. She wanted drama. "Lucas mentioned he's been working with your company. Small world, right?" There it was. She was rubbing it in. "It's a big city," I said simply. "I'm sure our paths won't cross much." She laughed. "He speaks very highly of you, actually. Says you've matured." The smugness in her voice was thick. She thought she was winning. She thought I was defeated. I let her think that. People make mistakes when they feel safe. At work, I played small. I kept my head down, stayed quiet in meetings, let others take credit for ideas. My manager started treating me like I was invisible, which was exactly what I wanted. Meanwhile, Lucas grew bolder. He started attending more internal meetings, offering opinions on projects he shouldn't have known about. He was getting insider information from somewhere. I suspected Bethany was feeding him details from family conversations where I had mentioned work. He was using my own words against me. But every time he overstepped, I documented it. Every time he accessed information beyond his clearance level, I noted the timestamp. I was building something, slowly and carefully. Corporate compliance exists for a reason. Our company had strict policies about vendor relationships, conflicts of interest, and consultant access to proprietary information. I spent my lunch breaks reading through the employee handbook and ethics guidelines. Lucas wasn't an employee, but as a contracted consultant, he was bound by the same confidentiality rules. His recommendations for vendors had to be impartial and based solely on business value. Personal financial gain from vendor selection was explicitly prohibited. I didn't need to prove he was a bad person. I just needed to prove he was breaking clearly defined professional rules. Facts don't care about feelings. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I found it. An email thread where Lucas recommended a vendor called Summit Solutions for our packaging supplies. The company was charging 30% more than our current vendor. Lucas justified it by saying they offered superior quality and reliability. I dug deeper. Summit Solutions was registered to a business address that matched Bethany's investment property. The listed CEO was someone named Michael Trent, but further research showed Michael was Bethany's boyfriend, the one she had been seeing for 6 months. Lucas wasn't just recommending overpriced vendors. He was steering company money directly to my sister's pocket. This was a fraud. Clean, simple, provable fraud. Bethany invited me to lunch. I accepted. We sat in a bright cafe and she talked about her life, her new business ventures, how well things were going. "Lucas has been such a good friend through all this," she said, watching my face. "He's really turned his life around." I sipped my water. "That's nice." She leaned forward. "You know, Dorothy, holding on to anger only hurts you. Maybe you should try being more forgiving." I smiled softly. "You're right, Bethany. I've been working on letting go." She looked satisfied, victorious. She had no idea that letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant freeing up space to think clearly. She paid for lunch, still smiling, still certain she had won. I spent 2 weeks compiling everything. Emails showing Lucas's vendor recommendations. Public records showing Bethany's ownership stakes in those vendors. Financial reports showing the increased costs to our company. Meeting notes where Lucas discussed internal projects he shouldn't have known about. I organized it chronologically, highlighted the policy violations, cross-referenced everything with our corporate ethics code. I didn't editorialize. I didn't add emotional commentary. I just presented facts, dates, numbers, and clear policy breaches. The document was 23 pages long. Boring, professional, undeniable. I saved it as compliance concern vendor relationship disclosure and prepared to submit it through proper channels. I almost didn't do it. I almost just walked away, changed jobs, moved to another city, and left them both behind. The thought of dealing with more conflict, more drama, more pain was exhausting. But then I checked my bank account. I was still paying off legal debt from the divorce, still rebuilding savings Lucas had drained, still recovering from damage he had caused to my reputation. And now he was in my workplace, profiting from my company with my sister's help while they both mocked me at family dinners. Walking away wouldn't stop them. It would just teach them they could do this to the next person too. So I made a decision, not revenge, correction. Monday morning, I requested a meeting with our chief compliance officer. Her name was Patricia Reeves, a woman in her 50s known for being thorough and completely impartial. I didn't tell her it was personal. I just said I had identified a potential conflict of interest that needed review. She scheduled me for Wednesday afternoon. Those 2 days felt like 2 years. I triple-checked my documentation. I rehearsed how I would present the information without emotion. I reminded myself this wasn't about hurting Lucas and Bethany. This was about protecting my company and upholding professional standards. Wednesday came. I walked into Patricia's office with my folder and a calm expression. I was ready. Patricia listened to everything. She didn't interrupt. She took notes. She asked clarifying questions about dates and amounts. When I finished, she looked at the documentation for a long moment. "This is serious, Dorothy. You understand what you're alleging?" I nodded. "I'm not alleging anything. I'm providing facts about vendor relationships that appear to violate our conflict of interest policy." She closed the folder. "I'll need to launch a formal inquiry. Your name will be kept confidential during the investigation, but Lucas Hendricks will be suspended from all consulting activities pending review." I took a breath. "I understand." She shook my hand. "Thank you for bringing this forward. This is exactly the kind of integrity we need." I walked out of her office feeling lighter than I had in months. Lucas found out that afternoon. I wasn't there, but I heard about it from colleagues. He had shown up for a scheduled meeting and was told his access badge had been deactivated. He demanded to speak with management. They told him there was an ongoing review and he would be contacted. He left angry, making a scene in the lobby. That evening, Bethany called me 6 times. I didn't answer. She left voicemails. "Dorothy, what did you do? Lucas said he's been suspended. Did you report him?" "Are you really that petty?" The panic in her voice was obvious. She knew exactly why he was suspended. She knew what they had done. But she still believed I didn't have the nerve to actually follow through. She still thought I was weak. The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, Lucas hired a lawyer. Bethany tried to control the narrative within our family, telling everyone I was vindictive and trying to ruin Lucas's career because I couldn't handle the divorce. But Patricia's team was thorough. They interviewed vendors, reviewed financial records, and examined every contract Lucas had influenced. They found more than I had. Lucas had been steering company business to Bethany-connected vendors for 8 months, resulting in over $200,000 in unnecessary costs. The evidence was overwhelming. Lucas was formally terminated from his consulting contract. A letter was sent to all vendors he had recommended, putting their contracts under review. Summit Solutions lost our business entirely. Thanksgiving had been at Bethany's house. Christmas was supposed to be at my parents' place. My mother called me a week before. "Dorothy, I need you to understand that Bethany is very upset. She says you got Lucas fired." I stayed calm. Lucas violated corporate ethics policies. The compliance department made their decision based on evidence. My mother sighed. "Can't you just let this go? He's struggling now. Bethany is struggling. You got what you wanted." I felt something crack inside me. What I wanted was to have Thanksgiving dinner without my abusive ex-husband ambushing me. What I wanted was for my sister not to profit from defrauding my employer. I didn't get what I wanted, Mom. I just stopped letting them get away with hurting people. Lucas tried to get other consulting work, but the industry is small. Word spreads. Companies do background checks. Being terminated for ethics violations is a career death sentence in our field. He couldn't get clients. He couldn't get references. His professional reputation was destroyed, not by me, but by his own choices documented in black and white. Bethany's business ventures started falling apart too. Without Lucas steering corporate contracts her way, her revenue dried up. Summit Solutions closed after 4 months. She had to sell her investment property to cover debts. None of this was public drama. There were no social media posts, no family confrontations, no screaming matches. Just official findings, professional consequences, and the quiet collapse of a scheme built on dishonesty. 6 months later, my manager called me into her office. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, she offered me a promotion. "Dorothy, your work ethic and integrity haven't gone unnoticed. We need someone to lead the new compliance coordination team. Patricia recommended you specifically." I was stunned. The promotion came with a significant raise and more responsibility. It wasn't a reward for reporting Lucas. It was recognition for the careful, professional way I had handled a difficult situation. I accepted. That week, I moved into a better apartment. I paid off the last of my divorce legal fees. I started rebuilding my life on a foundation that actually belonged to me this time. Bethany reached out one more time, an email, no subject line, just, "I hope you're happy now. You destroyed Lucas's career and my business just to feel superior. You're not the victim you pretend to be." I read it twice, then deleted it. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She still didn't understand. This was never about superiority or revenge. This was about refusing to be a doormat. This was about drawing a line and saying, "You cannot treat people this way without consequences." I blocked her number, blocked her email, and declined all future family events where she would be present. My parents were disappointed, but they eventually respected my boundaries. Some relationships aren't worth saving. A year later, I hosted my own Thanksgiving. Small group, close friends, people who respected me. We cooked together, laughed, and shared what we were grateful for. No surprise guests, no hidden agendas, just peace. Someone asked me if I regretted how things played out with my sister. I thought about it honestly. "No," I said. "I regret that she made the choices she made, but I don't regret refusing to stay small just to make her comfortable." The unthinkable wasn't revenge. It was realizing I never needed their permission to win. I didn't need Bethany's approval. I didn't need Lucas's respect. I just needed to respect myself enough to walk away from people who didn't value me. What would you do in this situation? Would you confront your family immediately, or would you take the strategic approach? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that standing up for yourself isn't about being cruel but about having boundaries, hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach people who need to hear them. Remember, you don't have to stay silent when people mistreat you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to play their game.